There's one thing that I think gets often overlooked in leadership training. It's a skill that had a massive impact on my career, helping me grow from an engineer to a VP of engineering. This game changing skill is curiosity. I'm not talking about random curiosity like asking a million questions, but I'm talking about thoughtful, intentional curiosity. The kind of curiosity that helps you understand how things work, how your work fits into the bigger picture, how to make an impact beyond just your immediate role. So, today I want to unpack what curiosity really looks like at work, how to practice it, and why it can open up so many doors and create opportunities for you to grow in your career. Let's start with what I mean by curiosity. Curiosity isn't about asking why all the time. It's really about being thoughtful and focused. It's about asking the right questions to understand how things connect. And here's why that matters. If you're only focused on your part of a project, your piece of the puzzle, you miss out on the bigger picture. You don't see why decisions are made or how your work impacts the company's goals. You might make the wrong judgment about certain projects you're working on, or you might misprioritize work and focus on less critical deliverables. Because when you don't see the big picture, you might not be as impactful, or you might be unintentionally making wrong decisions because you're only focused on that small piece of the puzzle. Let me give you an example. Imagine you're an engineer at Amazon and your team is asked to build a feature that automatically bundles related items. Let's say someone buys a coffee maker and they're shown filters, mugs, or maybe coffee beans as add ons. Now, if you were on the team and curiosity kicks in, you might be asking questions like, is this feature based on a customer feedback? Or is this feature based on a competitive pressure? How do we decide which items should we bundle? Is it purely algorithmic or does it involve input that we can get from suppliers? What's the business objective? Is this about increasing cart size and cart value, or is it about improving customer satisfaction? What's the experience for the customer? Are we solving a pain point that they've mentioned, like frustration from maybe forgetting to buy related items? See how these questions don't just focus on the technical task, but they dig into the why behind it. Now, let's take it a step further. Let's say a competing platform like Walmart or Target has already implemented a similar feature and they gained a 10% increase in average order value. Suddenly, you understand that this isn't just a cool idea, it's actually a strategic response to a competitive challenge. Let's take another scenario. Let's say data showed that customers who bought a coffee maker but didn't buy filters had a higher return rate because they weren't able to use the product immediately. So now this gives you a better idea of how this feature could reduce returns and also improve the long-term customer satisfaction. This kind of curiosity can transform your role because you're no longer just writing the code to enable bundling, you're actively contributing to solving a business problem or improving customer experience and driving the company's goals forward. When you're curious, you're not just doing a task, you're actually thinking like a leader. You're aligning your work with the bigger picture and you're positioning yourself to make a real impact. Here's a saying I love: you can't see the label when you're inside the jar. And this happens all the time, especially in big companies, because teams get so focused on their tasks that they forget to step back and look at the bigger picture. But curiosity is what helps you step outside the jar so you can see the label and connect the dots. Now, outside of the usual questions you ask in meetings or with your immediate team, I want to share 3 additional ways that have helped me practice curiosity at work to get valuable insights about the company. First one is shadow other teams. One of the first things I do when I join a new company is to sit in on calls with other departments, like sales or customer success, and I don't typically say anything, I just listen. When I joined ActiveCampaign, and for those of you who don't know ActiveCampaign, it's a marketing automation platform. When I joined as their VP of engineering, I shadowed a customer success call during my first week. Customer was a photographer, and he talked about how our platform, how ActiveCampaign helped him run his business and take care of his family and also put bread on the table. And those were his exact words. Now, hearing that completely changed how I viewed my work. It wasn't just about building a platform, it was about helping people make a living. And that perspective stuck with me and influenced so many decisions I made later on. Second way to help you practice curiosity is pay attention in company wide meetings and town halls. Most people only tune in when it's their department's turn to present. Don't do that. Use these meetings to learn about other parts of the business, like what challenges is marketing facing? What's the sales team focused on? How does engineering plug into their goals? If something sparks your curiosity, follow up and send an email or a Slack message to that leader or someone on their team and ask for more details, because this also shows that you're engaged and interested in the bigger picture. Third way to practice curiosity is during informal conversations like work events, happy hours, coffee chats. These are great opportunities to learn more about what's going on in the company. And when you're in a relaxed setting, people tend to open up more. So you can ask questions like, what's the biggest challenge that your team is facing lately? Or what's something exciting that you're working on? You'll be surprised how much you can learn just by being curious and showing genuine interest. Now, let's talk about what to do with all this information. Here's the thing, you might not use what you learn right away, and that's okay. The point of curiosity isn't to solve an immediate problem, it's actually to collect pieces of the puzzle that you can connect later. For example, let's say you overhear the customer success team mentioning that clients often complain about how complicated the onboarding process is. Now, a few months later, your team starts brainstorming ways to improve user retention. And suddenly you remember that conversation. So you propose simplifying the onboarding flow, and that turns out to be a key to solving both problems: happier customers and improved retention rates. So curiosity can give you that wider lens because it helps you connect the dots in ways you might miss. It also might enable you to make better decisions and uncover opportunities for innovation that weren't obvious at first. Let me share another example with you. Imagine you're an engineer at a SaaS company and your team is assigned to build something that you feel is an unnecessary feature. Let's say it's a specialized reporting dashboard and you strongly feel that it's a waste of time to dedicate resources to building it. Now, your frustration grows and you start fighting against the project because you have a lot of competing priorities that you feel are more critical. But here's what you didn't know: that dashboard wasn't just a random idea. It actually came directly from one of the company's largest clients. Let's say it's an enterprise company that represents 20% of your company's annual revenue. Now, this client specifically requested this feature to address a pain point they have in their operations, and they were even willing to fund it and fund its development. Now, here's more. If this client doesn't get what they need, they've already hinted that they might consider switching to a competitor. So think about that. Losing them would mean a significant revenue loss, forcing the company to maybe scale back its workforce, reduce budgets, and likely delay or cancel projects that maybe you are most excited to work on. Now, when you see it from this perspective, the project isn't pointless at all. It's actually a strategic decision to nurture and preserve a critical customer relationship so you can maintain revenue stability. So, this is where curiosity becomes a game changer. Instead of judging the project as pointless or bad prioritization, curiosity would lead you to ask questions like, why is this feature important? Or who's driving this request? Or maybe what's at stake if we don't deliver it? And by being open minded and seeking to understand the business context, your mindset shifts. So you're no longer just building a random dashboard, you're now contributing to maintaining an important partnership that keeps the company thriving. This is key to growth in your career. Leaders don't just execute tasks, they understand the why behind decisions so they can align their work with the company's larger goals. One last thing I want to touch on is that curiosity shouldn't be biased. Let's say you notice something inefficient at work, maybe a process that doesn't make sense. Instead of asking who built this and pointing blame, try asking when was this process introduced and why it was set up this way. Chances are there was a good reason for it back then, and maybe it made sense 5 years ago, but the company has outgrown it. Now, by approaching it with curiosity instead of judgment, you're more likely to find a solution that works for everyone. Curiosity has always shaped the way I approach work. It helped me see the big picture, connect with people across the company, and make a bigger impact. So here's my advice: be curious, ask questions, build connections, step outside the jar, and you never know what you'll discover and how it might impact your company and shape your career.